Hello Access, my name's Nathan, I'm here with Dave.
Hello.
I'm better than Dave at Resogun, which is why I'm here to tell you how to get a score of over 100 million on Experienced. And if that sounds like a big claim, it is, because that would put you about 150th in the world, I think, on Experienced. But that's the claim I'm making. I'm currently 73rd in the world, Dave.
Right.
And I could do better, I just don't want to. I haven't got the time.
I'd make a joke, but you actually are. And you can check.
I really am. Yeah. So this is how you get a really good high score on Resogun, and the reason I like Resogun is because I've played it loads and I'm better than other people. The other reason is because it doesn't really just give up all its secrets. There's loads of stuff where it's not quite clear how to score best. So the game is about saving humans, right, Dave?
Yeah.
No, it's not. Shut up.
No, the lady said.
I know, no, and you can, to be fair, you can earn lots of points by saving humans, and in fact there is a method of herding the humans until the end of the level, on the first level particularly, and then like saving them all at once, which I've seen people do on the internet. Yeah. Which I just can't do it. It's just too hard.
Okay.
But that gets you a whole bunch of points.
This is like next. That's like next level.
That's next level.
Okay.
But then really that doesn't lead. That's good for the first level, but after that it doesn't really lead to any further success. So here are better tips for how to. This, by the way, that we've got going on, the footage you'll be seeing under the which we'll be jumping between, but you'll see underneath us talking here is me scoring about 115 million.
Just 115.
I think. Did it at lunchtime.
No big deal.
I really did do it at lunchtime.
For a change. As opposed to just
playing
through the working
hours.
day.
And I experimented on the last level, which I just did very badly. I died on the boss on level 4, so I didn't really try that hard.
Sure.
Yeah. So anyway, this is what you need to do to get a score of 100 million, Dave. The most important thing is
guns.
The multiplier. The multiplier at the top of the screen there that you see, that's the score multiplier.
Yeah.
And you basically need to keep that going at all times. So you'll see that it starts to flash red if you haven't hit an enemy for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So you basically need to shoot things. You can actually also shoot other things. Well, one other thing. You can shoot the little weapon power-up that comes around.
Yeah.
That also counts, and actually that's got me out of a hole more than once.
Picking up a human will...
Correct.
Like pause the multiplier.
It will also refresh the multiplier.
Refresh is probably a good word.
And then if you put them into the two kind of teleportation safety points on the level, if you have a human, that will also... So you can kind of manage your way around this kind of... this because they're cylindrical. Yeah. You can manage your way around the level doing the other things you might want to do. I mean, basically, what I'm saying is keep the multiplier going at all costs. Yeah. If it means you have to... A human is being taken up by a UFO...
And you can't get there.
Just let him go.
Let him go.
Keep the multiplier going. Sometimes you can press... If you have bombs, which you can see in the top left-hand corner of the screen, they will keep a multiplier going as well. Sometimes then afterwards there is a lull, though, where you're like, okay, I need something else to shoot really quickly. Oh, my God. Yeah. But if it's the last ditch, why not? Use a bomb. Yeah. Stay alive. That's probably the biggest thing. And last thing is you can boost towards enemies, which I didn't think of for a while, but you have a boost on L1, and if you're thinking I'm not going to make it over there in time to keep my multiply going, just have a little boost.
True. And boosting through enemies replenishes the boost quicker as well, doesn't it? So the more you can hit.
That's actually my next point about scoring. Right. About scoring points. Boosting increases your score because killing stuff fast is what killing stuff in quick succession is one of the key things that the game doesn't tell you gets you the highest scores, but it does. Right. So on a very small scale, boosting through a set of enemies will give you a higher score, and as you said, each enemy you hit replenishes your boost very slightly. The boost is on that blue bar, if we mentioned it, just below your ship. There will be a small explosion at the end, and it gets bigger the longer that you hold boost. One thing if you're trying to keep your multiplier going is not, I would advise you, unless you're really keen on saving the humans on the first couple of levels, because it's quite good for points, don't use all of your boost in one go. Use short controlled boosts to get out of sticky situations and to keep your multiplier going, because hitting enemies with boost also keeps the multiplier going. But what the worst thing is when you realise you're slightly too far away from a group of enemies to keep your multiplier going. You press boost and it goes because you've used it all, and you didn't need to. You were just on a joyride across the level. So the boost is most useful for getting out of trouble, which can save your life and therefore the multiplier, reaching enemies before the multiplier ticks down, and saving humans by dashing over to UFOs who are trying to carry them over the level. and also with powered throws, which is one of my favourite things to do on the game. If you kind of need to stay in a particular area of a level because it's just the safest place to be, but you want to get a human out of there, you can just pick him up, boost for half a second, press throw, which is L2, and away they go.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing, by far the biggest thing, the secret behind all of my scores, and the thing which will get you, Dave, to 100,
even me,
to 100 million, is overdrive.
Right.
Overdrive is, lots of shoot 'em ups have, a charge bar which, when released, blows up a bunch of stuff, and it's very useful for staying alive in Resogun. It's the green bar on top of your ship, and it's charged with the kind of the green dots that you can see other destroyed enemies here. Some enemies give up more of that stuff than others, which is worth keeping an eye on. But basically, overdrive is crucial to scores because of the thing I mentioned earlier about boosting. In Resogun, blowing stuff up in quick succession gets the score higher and higher.
Because the time sort of stands still a little bit when you start overdrive, doesn't it? So you are killing all that stuff in a short space of time. Yeah,
very, very much so. And the longer you can keep the overdrive going, and the more things you can destroy while it's on, the higher your score will be. But it's exponential. It's not like the difference between a couple 100,000. This will make the difference between millions and millions of points. So just to reiterate, the game awards points on a sliding scale, and the quicker you destroy enemies in quick succession, the more points each one is worth. So break out the overdrive like I am here on this level, you can see green numbers coming off exploding ships, right?
Yeah.
And they are getting bigger the more you chain together. So a good example for this is, you want to be reaching kind of 5,000 or 6,000 per enemy at the end of your overdrive run at that minimum.
Right.
Over 10,000 I'm always happy with. Once or twice on a good run I will reach 20,000, and those that burst will be worth somewhere around 5 or 10 million points on its own. No, 5 million points. Yeah.
Right.
So this means a couple of things. It means you should use the ship Phobos.
Okay.
Because there are 3 ships that you can use to play the game.
Yeah.
Phobos is it looks like a bomber. It's it looks slightly out of shape. It's slower than the other ships, but its overdrive lasts longest. It's actually got a slower but more powerful main weapon as well, which is, I find, more helpful for bosses, and beating bosses really does help you to stay alive. But the overdrive, it just lasts like a second or two longer, and as we know, it is those last couple of seconds where you will have killed a bunch of stuff that you getting the highest amount of points. Those 2 seconds basically is what I'm saying can be worth as much as the rest of the overdrive.
Yeah.
So use Phobos.
That does come at a cost to your boost though, right? Like the Phobos has a worse boost, so
much worse.
You won't be picking up.
And it's hard. It's basically harder to stay alive.
Yeah.
And it's harder to save enemies. You're less manoeuvrable.
But we're talking about the big points. If you want the big points,
exactly.
you make the sacrifices.
You want to be in the game. You should charge your overdrive as quickly as possible. So those green things I mentioned, make sure you're. Sometimes in a level, it's just very hard to make sure that you're collecting all that stuff because you can't always, because you want to keep the multiplier going, because you want to save a human or whatever, or just because of the weight of enemies. Sometimes you have to run away from a wave of them, but collect as many of them as you can. And you should, crucially, time your overdrive when you release it. You should time it well. Don't wait too long because you could be charging again, and obviously you want to fit in as many overdrive rips as you can on every level, but also make sure the screen is packed with enemies. I'm going to show you this. We might have already been on this video, but I'm going to show you now. This is on level 1. There is a particular place where I deploy, and I can almost guarantee, kind of 2/3 through the level, that I will get up to about 20,000 per person because new waves come in, and once you play the game over and over and over and over again for hours, like I have, you'll get to know roughly when you'll be charged, because like I said, different enemies give up charge at different rates, so you know roughly when you'll be charged, and then how long you should wait to deploy it. Sometimes it's worth waiting, you'd be like, oh, I'm messing this up, I'm not recharging. It's worth waiting. Other times, just get it done.
So that's almost like another point, isn't it? Is the key to success is learning the level, because the levels follow a certain pattern, so it's always the same enemies come each time, and at the same time. So you've got that phase indicator at the bottom of the screen, which is like a map.
And if ever you kind of have a good, you go, oh, that was a good overdrive. Check where you are on that little progress bar. And also a little hint, because obviously you're going to end up playing level 1, and you're going to hate the end of level 1 if you're going for a serious high score, because you'll be playing like midway through level 3. It's super exciting, stuff's exploding everywhere. Then you'll be back to level 1, and it'll be like just 2 little things just floating up and down. What was I going to say? So you can counteract that by going into single level mode rather, and just practicing the later levels, getting to know where the enemies are, and you will realise that there is basically, you want to aim for big clusters of weak enemies will give you the most points in overdrive. So you'll begin to realise, like, there's these fish that float around. They give you loads of charge, and they're brilliant for blowing stuff up as well.
So should I save up my overdrive and use it on the bosses?
Normally speaking, no, Dave, but that's a very good question.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks for asking.
You're welcome.
No, on every level except for level 3, you want to have used your overdrive before the boss.
Right.
Otherwise, it's a waste.
Right. Okay.
You could destroy the boss easier, but you could have got loads of points, and the bosses aren't that hard anyway.
Yeah.
So the only one you definitely need to save it for, and there are a bunch of them fish just before it, so it is easily done. Level 3, which is like a big block, and he kind of
the square guy.
He's basically like a big points present, this guy, because he's not that hard to kill, and once you damage him a little bit, he will kind of shed a skin, like a big blocky skin, and it's like asteroids. This block will kind of disintegrate into smaller blocks. Yeah. So you time your press right there, you overdrive into that mother, and you're looking at something between 15 and 20 million points, like almost every time, because you're destroying very small enemies, but tons of them in an extraordinarily small space
that whole thing
of time.
Of just time again, just doing it in very quick, lots of stuff in a small space of time. Exactly. It's the big points. Yeah, and
I think people will have just seen how I did that on this run, which I got over 100 million, and this was absolutely crucial to that. I got 20 million points on this boss, and that's what helped me to get over 100 million points. Now, there is one other crucial thing which I've only very recently learned about overdrive, and that is that not all overdrives were created equal.
Really?
And I was kind of, every now and again, I was having this thing where I would activate it with R1 by holding R1, and sometimes it would just detonate around me in a really cool way. Yeah. And the way that I figured out the way that this works is there is a shield ring around your ship. You can see it there on screen. Yeah. And as you hold to activate overdrive, there's another circle which contracts into your ship. Oh
yeah, I know what you mean.
Time it so that circle is just inside the shield circle but hasn't touched the ship yet, and it will detonate.
Right.
And the reason
releasing R1?
Yes, by releasing R1. And the reason that why this is good, you'll start with a massive blast, and the blast gives you a kind of a big head start and gets the score and the speed of the destruction kind of kicked into gear straight away, and that will be the difference. So previously my record on level 1 was 15 million. Last night, just after I found this trick out, 22 million, Dave.
Wow.
22 million. So you can imagine that.
That's a huge difference.
Throughout the... it does feel like we're selling, like, I don't know, some kitchen cleaner. Oh my God, it's never been whiter. Yeah. But yeah, no, it really, really does make a huge difference.
That brings up something actually that I think is important that I didn't realise for a very long time, which is when you press R1, you can take your finger off immediately. Yes. You've started your overdrive, and you can't use overdrive in small amounts. No. You have to use it all at once. So once you've triggered it, you either use it or it just depletes anyway without using it. So.
And this brings us on to my final point.
Right.
Firstly, just on that last one, the timing of it, if you hold it for too long, it will just kind of fizzle out.
Yeah.
And if you don't hold it for long enough, same thing happens. So just get that timing press right. But also, you're right, once you've triggered overdrive, you can't save half of it for later, but you can boost in the middle of it. So if you have one giant cluster of enemies on one side of the level, and you've dealt with them, you can boost over to the other side, kick up overdrive again, and obviously get twice as many points. And that again will hugely boost your score.
Yeah, good.
So I expect to see you on 100 million very soon, Dave.
Yeah. All right. Well, can I have some work time to do that?
No. And the other thing is, I guess, is just to bear in mind is that I've done all of this playing on experience because I decided I wanted to get very good at experience before I moved on to veteran. Yeah. These tricks will work on veteran if you want to set a high score, but it's quite cool having a get over 100 million in the title.
Yeah, absolutely. So and the multiplier is capped at each level as well, isn't it? So we can only go up to 10 on experience, but if you play it on veteran, you can get up to 15, and so it's that whole risk-reward thing.
Absolutely. So you could quite easily get a score of above 100 million on veteran. You might be going, 100 million? That's not even hard.
Yeah.
But a score of over 100 million on experienced will, as I say, give you a decent place on the leaderboard in the hundreds. Out of all the people that are playing.
That's cool. In the whole world.
So enjoy. This is here. We're going to show the end now, Dave, of my run after my bad level 5.
Yeah.
But there you go, over 100 million. So it can be done.
I'm impressed.
You too could have a score like these. I'm thinking of them keep fit videos.
Right.
You know, you too could have buns like mine, Dave. Is what I'm saying.
No, I'm alright, actually.
And on that note, thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And if you've enjoyed this video or have got a better score than me, I don't know why that would mean you like the video, but like it anyway.